Today I'm going to be doing a little review of this set of watercolors that I got in the mail. They're the Daniel Smith secondary watercolor set. You buy them as a set of 3 from Amazon. If you want to know where to get them, they're just in the description. I decided to get these because one, they're a really good deal compared to buying them separately. And also they have a couple of granulating pigments in there that I really wanted to try. So the quinacridone burnt orange and especially the Undersea Green. Carbosol Violet, I always love purples and I wanted to try this one out as well. This wasn't my favorite violet, but I still think it's a very, very nice color, especially because it's got a strong tinting ability. So it does have a large range to go from light to dark, almost a black. So I'm going to go through a little bit about each color before we get started, and we'll do a bunch of swatches as well. So here is the pamphlet that it comes with and explains each of the colors. So you've got the quinacridone burnt orange, sort of describing it basically as a brilliant orange / sienna color. It's a series 2 paint, light fastness rated as 1, excellent. So all these are actually rated as excellent. As I mentioned before, it's granulating, it's low staining. We've got the Carbosol Violet Series 2, excellent light fastness, medium staining, and it's not granulating. So that's the only one that's not granulating. So I'll show you what I mean in terms of granulating and non-granulating if you've never painted with such paints before. There's also Undersea Green here. Now this one's my favorite. I tried this out before and it's, it's incredible. So it's a combination of ultramarine and quinacridone gold, so it separates out amazingly. It's a series 1, so I'm quite surprised that it's a series 1 because French ultramarine is a series 2 paint. I'm not sure about quinacridone gold, so I'd really suggest it if you're looking for a green, a very interesting green that granulates. This is my favorite green overall, and I've tried so many. I've got different phthalo greens, emerald green, hooker's green, sap green, all kinds of greens, and this one is amazing. So let's go ahead and get started, and I'm going to do some little swatches to just show you what the paints look like. So let's get a bit of this quinacridone burnt orange on the paper. Same with the Undersea Green and Carbosol Violet. I'm just going to squeeze it directly onto the paper here, and that's going to allow me to get in a decent swatch. I'm just going to use some of this paint for later. So there's a bit of that there, a bit of the Undersea Green. I love this color. I keep mentioning that, but it is an amazing color. And here we've got a bit of Carbosol Violet, and I'm going to drop that here as well and just do a swatch test. And I can't get the lid on for this one. I don't know why, but the lid on for this one's annoying. So, just a bit of water. Number 8 brush. Let's bring this one down. So, this is quinacridone orange, burnt orange. Okay, quite a nice, really nice color. And I'm going quite thick up the top here. That's as dark as it gets. Just like that. And then, just shift some of this further down. And it gets pretty light. Fantastic. Okay, let's put in a bit of colour to this second one here, Undersea Green. Amazing colour. You can already see this granulating out. I hope this doesn't mix too much. Let me just take a bit of that. Take a bit of that off to the left. Undersea Green. Bit of water. And I'm just going to bring that up to the top first, like this. Some more water, and we'll go down the page like that. And you can see already it's such a dark, juicy sort of colour. More water down the base. Oops. Should be lighter. Let me just lift off a bit of paint here. Like that. Okay. And I actually got a fair bit of paint. I squeezed off too much up at the top, but shift that around a little bit. This, and this will kind of come down and mix a little bit, do its thing. And we're going to go in with this last color here, Carbosol Violet. It's such a dark color. Check this out. It's almost black. Like a black violet. Amazing. It's non-granulating. Let's add in some water midway through. You can see that violet just start to pop out. The vibrancy of it. Okay, just like that. Then a bit of water down the bottom to further lighten this up. Okay, I'll shift some of this top bit down. And there we go. So here's a closer look of the three secondary colours. And as you can see, the quinacridone burnt orange, that's about the darkest that you can go here on the top. The other two definitely have a larger tinting range. Very beautiful granulation in the first and second. There's even a bit here where it joins up and connects. Carbosol Violet, as you can see, there's it's extremely dark up the top. It's almost black. Now, I wasn't able to get the blue to separate out in the Undersea Green here, but I do have a separate bit of paper where you can see that happening just over here. So you can just see a bit where that blue coming out there, blue up in the corner there. So that's the ultramarine that's in that mix. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just do a bit of a lifting test to show you how the color lifts, and we'll try that in the area where we've got a little bit more darkness, so up the top here. And I'm just going to pop in a little bit of water for this orange, and I'm going to grab a tissue here as well for the Undersea Green. Just get a bit of that water through like that, and usually let it sit for a bit. It really depends how much of that paint you want to lift up. And we'll go lift that off. And we'll do that also for the Carbosol Violet here. Okay, this one seems to be the one that's going to be less likely to lift off. But we'll see. It lifts off reasonably well, but looks like it kind of stains the paper a fair bit as well. So what I'm going to do now is just go through a really quick sketch of little painting and just show you how it performs in a really basic sketch. I will be starting off with getting into the lighter parts first, and I think this Carbosol Violet, we're going to have to use that for the sky color. Basically any of the cool color we'll have to use the Carbosol Violet for, and for any of the light, basically the quinacridone burnt orange, Undersea Green for pretty much everything else. So I'm going to start a little bit with the violet, and let's put in some of that in the sky. Now it goes a long way, as we could see before. It's very, very bright. So if you water it down, it actually looks quite nice. So some of that in the sky, just like that. It's just amazing how much color you can get out of just a few little dots here on the page. A bit more blue here, not blue, violet down the side, a bit over here, a bit in the back as well, keeping it super light, running through the back, and at times you're just using almost 90-95% water in this mix, and you can get it just so light out here. And I'm going to put in a bit of Undersea Green as well. If we go, just drop in a bit here, and we'll use this kind of wet and wet technique essentially to drop in bits and pieces. We're going to have to mix up some kind of brown as well, and I think maybe if we mix the violet, yeah, if we mix the violet with the green, we might be able to get earth and kind of colour, but we'll see how we go. Let's just get in the greens first, and they get pretty dark. I mean, if we mix a bit of green with the purple, let's see how that goes. This one goes just kind of like a darker green, actually, pretty dark green. Maybe the violet with the quinacridone burnt orange might be better. Let's mix up a bit more of this stuff. Yeah, some of it will spread into the sky. Yeah, I'm just going to get this something going up like that. Let's try a bit of this, a bit of this. There you go. That almost, it's not brown, but it's a darker sort of colour which we can use. Okay, like that. I'm just trying to get in a few trees to blend in, and you've also got some at the back which you don't want to blend in too much, but still having enough strength to indicate some trees off in the distance. Even here, you know, little ones back there need to be indicated as well if you want. You know, there's a few more here in the back, lighter of course as we head back. And one of the things, the huge advantages I'm finding with this paint is just the range of tones that you can get with only a few strokes and only a few colours. I mean, it's just I'm very impressed. And down like that. Got sharper sort of strokes for these ones to the left, especially. And again, let's try to get in some of the tones on the ground. Now I've forgotten the back area, but we do need to put in some green there as well, and so I'm just diluting this Undersea Green down to a very, very light colour at the back there. But the orange is also super important for us to try to get in some light, so I'll mix up a bit of this. Let's mix some of that in there to get in the light. Okay, and you'll notice it will just go over the top of everything else. There, mainly on the ground. Just colours that we're trying to get in here at the moment. There, here, a bit on the left, a bit here on the ground, here, because we can't quite use green for all this. Bits and pieces of green, like for example here, you can drop in a bit of green in there. So, yeah, but the warmth in here is all going to be dictated essentially by this colour here. We want some a little bit into the leaves of the trees as well, and trying to keep it very light in some of the areas of the leaves too, so that we can get that sense of light. Some of the leaves are just super green in colour, so I'll just add in a light shade of Undersea Green in there. On the ground as well, you're going to find that it's not just this orange colour, you're getting all this other mixtures of browns and bits and pieces of the trees, that sort of thing. So just some bit of looseness in there. This whole area here is pretty dark, so I'm going to actually use Carbosol Violet mixed in with a bit of this Undersea Green to create a very dark area. The Carbosol is overpowering the green, very, very much so, but I'm going to just try to cut around some of this stuff. Okay. Like that. Look at what other areas are going to be dark, maybe in here as well. The violet is complementary to to the orange, sort of. Alright, a little bit of the quinacridone burnt orange in some of these areas here as well. I know I'm missing a little bit of this warmth up here, and let's put some in. Why not? I think it's going to look quite nice, contrasting against that purple. Maybe up here as well. It's having some color harmony and areas where the colors overlap, interact with each other. It's so crucial. And you know, here at the bottom, I'm just going in with a bit of this again, a little bit of Carbosol Violet, Undersea Green. That's about it. I'm going to leave that first wash. We'll give it a quick dry. Now that everything's dried, we're going to be putting in the shadows, so the remaining part of the scene. So what I want to do is really just get in the trees as well in the background, maybe some indications of some of these leaves, some of these darker bits on the right hand side. So let's go ahead and give that a try. And we need it pretty dark for some of these trees in the foreground, but for the ones in the background, just a little bit of darkness there is fine. And again, I'm just going to be using this same paint that I've just put onto the paper like that. Okay, let's have a try here for this one. That one there in the background. Okay, I can just light wash there, very light wash there for a tree there in the background here. As we move up to the front, I'm going to just drop in some more of this violet to create darker sort of shapes. Now, again, you can mix that violet with a bit of this orange to just dull it down, okay, to sort of create a neutral color by getting that warm and cool color together. So bring that down. You can also mix all three together, but I don't want to muddy this up too much, so I'm being careful with that. Further down with this one, I'm going to go more purple actually with this tree here in the foreground. I love this Carbosol Violet. It's almost, see, if you use it straight out, it's almost black, like that. It's almost black. You can even use it here to put on examples, these little leaves or branches coming in from the side. See, it's a bit dulled down now, but you know, a little bit like that can help. Use sparingly, of course. And just coming in from the side there, we've got some of these trees here on the ground, these like a tree trunk or something there. You know, maybe a few bits and pieces here as well. There. Trees in the background. I'm gonna just get in a little wash for some of these here. Further back, I don't want to make them too obvious, so that this one can come forwards more. Okay, great. And you know what I want to do is again just repeat some of this type of stuff here on that left hand side. So you know, we've obviously got a few trees coming up here in the distance, and we don't want to get rid of that wash, that previous wash. We just want to go over the top and again redefine where we can. Add in a little bit more contrast in some areas. And that bit here, like that, any kind of dry brush work is also a good bonus. Great. And I can start putting in some of these shadows as well over the ground, and I'm going to use this violet color to do it. That one coming across the ground just like that. Goes such a long way, that color. You know, we can have a bit here, sort of reaching over here for this tree, a bit more here for that one, like that. You know, get a few more, maybe some of these shrubs are also casting a bit of a shadow to that left hand side. There could be something here too. A bit of darkness here, this all turns to a fair bit of darkness, and I can use that green bit of that Undersea Green here as well. Just mix that in with that shadow, so we've got a bit of contrast there, but it's still dark enough. But I'll put in a little shrub here, like in the reference. A bit more darkness on that right hand side, just to make it come forwards more and create a bit more darkness in this region, like this here. Okay, great. Really, for this side, I'm pretty much quite okay with that. You might look at cutting around some of the shapes here, like putting in some greens. On the ground as well, there's probably some softer looking shadows, so I don't want to leave it all like these hard edges, and we can just drop in a bit like this, running across some smaller shadows and having some green mixed in there too, like that. Okay, a few little brush strokes for some shrubs with the green in there, but I do want to make it look like that's kind of popping out with a bit of sunlight coming through, so it's just to emphasize some of the greens and things here in the back, maybe some leaves and that sort of thing here, but we're leaving in a fair bit of the orange showing through. Okay, some of the bit of green up there for the leaves. Let me just try to get a messy sort of brush stroke in there, like this. There we go. A few more around the sides of these trees. And there's actually a lot of this stuff here in the background, but very, very light. I like to use the side of the brush for this, so we can get in a kind of dry brush stroke-like effect, but again, don't overdo it. You can drop in some darker bits in here as well. There, a bit more this sidewards brush technique. Yeah. And I'll probably leave it as that. I really liked this secondary set. The colours, the combination of these colours and the strength of all these colours very much impressed me. They go a long way, especially the Carbosol Violet. The vibrancy of all these colours and the granulation, especially of these two, is quite amazing. So if you have any more questions, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching.
If you like this video, check out the playlist on the right. I release new tutorials and art supply reviews each week to help you progress faster in your watercolour journey.